Why women suddenly gain belly fat after 45, even when eating healthy. Welcome to Raw Inspired Living. My name is Kelly. For those of you that are returning, welcome back. For those of you, if this is your first exposure to Raw Inspired Living, I am so grateful you are here. So I know that there are many women that have experienced what I'm going to talk about today. So let's jump into it. You're eating well, you're moving your body, you're doing everything you were told to do, and yet something has changed. Your belly is softer, your jeans fit differently, and no matter what you adjust, it just stays there. If you've been wondering what is actually happening in your body after 45 and why the things that used to work suddenly don't, this video is going to give you a real answer. It's not another diet, it's not another thing to cut out, it's a genuine explanation of the physiology behind what you're experiencing. Because once you understand the why, everything else starts to make sense. I want to start by saying something clearly, because I think a lot of women need to hear this. You are not imagining it, and you are not the problem. Most of the women I talk to are already doing a lot right. They're eating more vegetables than ever. They're conscious of what goes into their bodies. Many of them are exercising regularly, some of them more than they ever have in their lives. And yet the belly fat just keeps increasing. The energy is unpredictable. The hunger signals feel strange and hard to read. Sleep has changed and recovery takes a lot longer than it used to. And I know that because I have lived that. So, I'm really here to just share everything that I have learned, which has really helped me in this journey of perimenopause and menopause. So if that has resonated with you, and if you've found yourself saying, I'm doing everything right and nothing is working, I want you to know what you're experiencing is real. It's common and it has a physiological explanation. It's not a failure of willpower. It's not because you need to try harder. It's because the body you're living in right now is operating under a different set of hormonal conditions than that were in your body 10 or 15 years ago. So it's a different landscape now. And that changes everything about how you need to nourish your body. Here is the reframe that I think changes everything for midlife women. Belly fat after 45 is not a discipline problem, it's a physiology problem. More specifically, it's your body responding intelligently to a shift in its hormonal environment. And honestly, when we understand that, we stop fighting with our bodies and we start working with them because we now understand what's actually happening. So the approach that actually works in midlife is not more restriction, it's not more intense exercise, it's understanding what your body is actually doing and why, and then responding to that intelligently. So let me walk you through some of the physiology, because once you see it, it will change how you think about your body for good, because that's honestly what it did for me. So let's start with part one. Part one is what estrogen actually does, right? After 45, estrogen begins a gradual decline, or depending on when you're going into perimenopause, but it starts a gradual decline. And most women know that, right? We know that that's what happens. What most women don't know is everything that estrogen was doing in the background. And I didn't understand this until I did my research. So estrogen isn't just a reproductive hormone. It plays a central role in how your body regulates energy, stores fat, builds muscle, and responds to stress. I mean, it's amazing, right? It does all of those things. It influences how efficiently glucose moves into your muscles. It also affects where fat tends to be stored, hips and thighs historically rather than the abdomen. It supports muscle preservation, it helps regulate inflammation, and it raises your body's tolerance for stress. That is a big one for women, for sure. When estrogen begins to decline, all of those functions are affected, sometimes subtly and sometimes more noticeably. Your body becomes slightly less efficient at clearing glucose from the bloodstream. It becomes more inclined to store energy centrally, which is where the belly fat comes in. Muscles become a little harder to hold on to, and your stress response becomes more sensitive. This is why the belly fat tends to accumulate in a way that feels new and different compared to any weight changes you may have experienced earlier in your life. And here's something most women are never told. During times of hormonal transition, your body stores fat centrally as a form of protection. Belly fat in midlife is not punishment, it is protection. When we understand that, we stop trying to attack it and we start creating the conditions that allow it to ease. So let's jump into part 2, which is blood sugar and cortisol connection, right? How are they related? So with reduced estrogen, insulin sensitivity naturally decreases as well. Insulin is the hormone that moves glucose from your bloodstream into your muscle cells. When insulin sensitivity is lower, that process becomes a little bit less efficient. Now this matters because when blood sugar isn't clearing efficiently, your body needs another way to manage it because it can't stay in your blood. That's not healthy. And the way it does that is by releasing cortisol, your primary stress hormone, to keep the blood sugar stable. Here's where it gets important. Cortisol, when chronically elevated, encourages central fat storage. It breaks down muscle, it disrupts sleep, and it drives hunger, particularly cravings for sweet or starchy foods. And I had enormous sugar cravings. So what many women experience as stubborn belly fat is actually a stress regulation pattern, not a calorie problem, a blood sugar and cortisol pattern. The things that trigger this pattern are the eating habits that worked perfectly well in your 30s or 40s, early 40s, long gaps between meals, fruit-heavy smoothies, very low protein days, even skipping meals and eating more later. It's probably not going to have worried you so much in those periods of your life, but in midlife, those patterns, which were fine before, can keep the cortisol response active and the fat storage pattern in place. What your body actually needs now is something different. It needs steadiness, it needs rhythm, stability, less spiking and crashing, and more consistent, structured fuel. So that brings me to part 3, the protein gap. Most women don't know they have. I didn't know that I had it, right? The third piece of this puzzle is protein. And this is one I see come up again and again, particularly for women who are plant-based and like me, who are high raw and eating very, very healthily. My diet was extremely healthy, but it really did lack the protein that my midlife body is needing. In midlife, protein becomes foundational in a way it simply wasn't before. And that's because muscle mass, which naturally begins to decline in our 40s, is one of the primary drivers of insulin sensitivity, metabolic rate, and blood sugar stability. So without enough protein at each meal, a few things happen. Hunger returns quickly, muscle slowly erodes, even when you're trying to lose fat, blood sugar fluctuates more, and over time your metabolism feels slower, because in a real sense it sort of is. Protein isn't about building bulk. In midlife, protein is about metabolic protection. It's about keeping the architecture in place that allows your metabolism to function well. Many women eating what they consider a healthy diet are not getting close to sufficient protein at each meal, especially if their meals are built around smoothies, salads, grain bowls, or fruit-heavy breakfasts. This is one of the most impactful shifts a midlife woman can make, intentionally anchoring each meal with a meaningful protein source. So let's talk about what integration of that looks like. So, what does it really look like? So what does this actually look like in practice? I want to give you 3 shifts that are grounded in everything I've just described. So shift 1, anchor each meal with protein. For most women in midlife, aiming for around 25 to 30 grams of protein per meal, eaten 4 times across the day. So I eat 4 same size meals across the day, right? That's how I roll now. That's my regulation that I have in midlife, right? So when you do that, when you eat 4 times across the day, it supports muscle preservation, blood sugar stability, and hunger regulation in a way that makes everything else easier. So for plant-based women, this often requires a little bit of intention. So tofu, tempeh, legumes, quality plant protein blends, or well-structured whole food combinations. It's not impossible, it just needs to be deliberate. So shift 2, create a steady fuel rhythm. And that's what I was talking about with the 4 meals a day, right? So eating approximately every 3 to 4 hours rather than skipping meals or eating larger amounts later, or, I'll just knuckle through. It keeps your blood sugar stable, it reduces the cortisol spikes and gives your body that consistent signal that it's safe and it's fueled appropriately. So long gaps between meals in midlife are one of the most common drivers of the cortisol fat storage pattern. Shorter, more consistent fuel windows work with your body's changed hormonal sensitivity. Shift 3, pair carbohydrates well with protein. We do need carbohydrates, right? Carbohydrates are not the problem in midlife. Often it's the way they're eaten that is the problem. So when carbohydrates are eaten alongside adequate protein and in measured moderate portions, they raise blood sugar gently and it falls gently. Right? When they're eaten alone in large amounts or in liquid form without protein support, the spike and crash pattern activates the cortisol response. This is why the fruit-heavy smoothie that felt fine in your 30s may not be serving you in the same way now. It's not about the fruit. Fruit is amazing. It's about the structure around the fruit. If you recognized yourself somewhere in this video, if something clicked or if something just made sense in a way that it hadn't before, I want you to understand that this is genuinely the first step, because for me, understanding what was going on made such a difference, right? When you understand what's actually happening physiologically in your body, you can stop trying harder at the wrong things and start directing your energy towards what your body actually needs right now. So I've put together a little free guide. It's called Understanding Your Midlife Metabolism, and it goes a little bit deeper into everything we've talked about today. It includes a little short self-assessment to help you understand whether your metabolism is currently running on stability or stress, and a simple 3-day meal structure to begin introducing the shifts that can make a real difference to your midlife health. You'll find the link in the description below. And if you found this video useful, please share it with someone else who you think needs to hear it, because there are a lot of midlife women who are working very hard and feeling very confused about why it's not working. And I really believe that this information can help them. So I hope it's been helpful for you, and I look forward to seeing you again in Raw Inspired Living.